R-A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Good Old Fashioned Dislike Podcast, where dynasties never die and hate is an extreme word, but just barely. This episode is brought to you by the University of North Alabama Christian Student Center. Check them out at facebook.com/UNACSC. On this podcast, we pick a football rivalry and we submit that rivalry to the panel of dislike. They will come up with the reasons why we like one team, dislike one team, and vice versa. By the end, we come to a conclusion of where our loyalties lie, mainly based on non-football things, but that's what's so much fun. Be sure to tell us in the comments who you're rooting for when the Chicago Bears go on the road to tangle with the Detroit Lions. These teams met for the first time on October 22nd, 1930, when the Lions were the Portsmouth Spartans. This rivalry is the longest-running annual series in the NFL, as both teams have met at least once a season since 1930. The Bears lead the series 104-77-5. Now to the professionals of dislike. This week's Golden Dislike goes to the Big Ten coaches. At least in the SEC, our cheating coaches don't turn themselves into martyrs, or do they? The uniform like goes to both of these squads as long as they stay away from most of their alternates. Lions, Tigers, and Bears, oh my, from The Wizard of Oz, like. Da Bears, superfans on Saturday Night Live, legendary. How many steaks does Lions head coach Dan Campbell eat every day? It a baker's dozen, Bop. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. Barry Sanders, legend in legendary. The Sweetness, Walter Payton, legend. Refrigerator Perry, like. Refrigerator Perry getting a touchdown in the Super Bowl instead of Walter Payton, dislike. My top 5 NFL individual nicknames. Number 5, the Minister of Defense, Reggie White. Number 4, the Snake, Kenny Stabler. Number 3, Iron, Mike Ditka. Number 2, Megatron, Calvin Johnson. And number 1, the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye. Saying Ditka or the Bears or Chicago IL, like. Michael Jordan era Bulls, like. Isaiah Thomas era Pistons, like. Detroit is Motown, like. Hot take incoming. The band Chicago, meh. The Chicago Cubs, all the dislikes. The Detroit Red Wings, legendary. Detroit, and for that matter, Chicago politics, more of the dislikes. A Devin Hester special teams return for a touchdown, a masterpiece. Justin Fields getting beat by Bama twice for the Natty. Cody Parkey hitting the goalpost twice to lose the Bears' first playoff game in 8 years, like. The Lions' annual tradition of not winning a playoff game since 1991, cowabunga. Ford versus Chevy, another rivalry for the ages. Feel free to battle it out in the comments. Naming a TV series, Chicago Fire. Still too soon? I don't know. I care nothing about being in a place called the Windy City. Dislike. Unless you got me tickets to a Bears game at Soldier Field. Former Bear Steve Mongo McMichaels was a pro wrestler for WCW. Like. Harrison Ford, Kanye West, Bernie Mac, but most importantly, Robin Williams. Rep Chicago. Love. Eminem, Bob Seger, Dave Coulier, and Mustache Hall of Famers Tom Selleck and Burt Reynolds rep Detroit. Eastbound and down. The winless 2008 Detroit Lions. How? QB Dan Orlovsky stepping out of the back of the end zone for a safety in the closest loss that season. Dislike. The Bears hosting the mysterious Fog Bowl of 1988. Like. Did we mention the 85 Bears defense? Maybe the greatest of all time? Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, the aforementioned Barry Sanders, and of course, Megatron repped the Honolulu Blue. Eddie Jackson, Gale Sayers, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher, and Dick Butkus were monsters of the Midway. We were pulling for Detroit this week, just so Dan Campbell won't beat me up.